Before we dive in, make sure you hit that subscribe button and share this video with anyone serious about history or practical survival techniques. What you're about to learn isn't just a historical curiosity. It's a method that can protect timber for decades, and it's exactly the kind of knowledge that kept Cold War bunkers standing long after their construction. During the Cold War, military engineers faced a problem that most modern builders rarely consider: how to make wood last underground, in constantly damp, poorly ventilated environments. Subterranean command centers, missile silos, and civilian fallout shelters all relied heavily on timber for structural support. Yet wood is notoriously susceptible to rot, mold, and insect damage. What engineers discovered was a combination of chemical treatment, moisture management, and material layering that allowed wood to survive decades of harsh conditions without decay. The secret began with chemical preservation. While today we think of pressure-treated wood, Cold War engineers often used a mixture of oils, tars, and naturally derived resins. Timber would be soaked in heavy oils or coated in pine tar, creating a barrier that water and fungi simply could not penetrate. This method was particularly popular in Soviet and Eastern European shelters, where prolonged exposure to groundwater could ruin untreated beams in a matter of years. You can replicate this in your own projects by thoroughly coating any structural wood intended for damp environments with linseed oil or a mixture of boiled linseed oil and natural resin. Apply multiple layers and allow each to cure completely before installation. This mimics the long-lasting effect seen in Cold War bunkers. Beyond chemicals, engineers understood that moisture was the real enemy. Underground structures were designed with a combination of ventilation shafts and drainage systems that kept timber as dry as possible. Even small amounts of stagnant water could start a chain reaction, leading to rot from the inside out. Modern applications of this principle can be surprisingly simple. When building a shed, raised garden bed, or shelter, ensure water cannot pool around wooden supports. Elevate beams on stone or concrete footings and, if possible, integrate channels to direct moisture away from the wood. The lesson from Cold War bunkers is clear. No chemical treatment alone will save wood if the environment remains wet. Interestingly, layering played a crucial role in preserving structural integrity. Engineers would often sandwich timber between moisture-absorbing materials such as dry sand, clay, or even layers of old tar paper. These materials absorbed incidental humidity and created an insulating buffer, preventing water from ever reaching the wood's core. Practically speaking, you can adapt this technique by lining the base of wooden storage sheds or shelters with coarse sand or gravel before placing beams. Even in above-ground projects, a barrier layer between soil and timber significantly slows decay. This is a direct translation of Cold War survival engineering into today's DIY or prepper applications. Another often overlooked factor was wood selection itself. Engineers favoured dense, slow-growing hardwoods such as oak or larch whenever possible. These species naturally resist rot and, combined with chemical treatment and environmental control, could survive underground for decades. For anyone serious about longevity in timber projects, choosing the right wood species is half the battle. Softwoods like pine or spruce may be easier to work with, but without proper treatment, they will not survive harsh conditions like the Cold War bunkers did. You know, Cold War methods also placed a strong emphasis on maintenance. Inspecting structures regularly and reapplying protective coatings whenever even minor damage appeared was key to ensuring longevity. Now, while the original engineers didn't rely on this as heavily due to limited access to bunkers, their designs cleverly allowed for long periods without intervention. In modern terms, just a few occasional maintenance checks can drastically extend the life of treated wood, especially in wet or underground environments. For survivalists or anyone storing supplies, this means combining preventative treatment with simple inspection routines to catch early signs of rot or water damage. The result of these combined strategies was, well, quite astounding. Bunkers built back in the 1960s, deep underground and constantly exposed to moisture, still maintain their structural integrity today, even decades after being abandoned. The Cold War wood secret wasn't just about chemistry or design alone. It was about integrating multiple approaches, careful selection, chemical protection, environmental management, layered insulation, and a bit of occasional upkeep. Each step reinforced the others, creating a system far more effective than any single method could be. So, for anyone interested in applying these lessons today, start with high-quality hardwood, treat it with a protective oil or resin, ensure proper drainage and ventilation, and maybe consider layering materials to buffer moisture. Even small survival shelters or garden beds can really benefit from these techniques. By understanding the historical methods that allowed Cold War engineers to preserve wood under extreme conditions, you're not just learning history. You're gaining practical knowledge that really works in real-world applications. If you found this guide valuable, make sure to subscribe and share it with other history buffs or survival enthusiasts. The Cold War was full of forgotten engineering secrets, and the wood that defied rot is just the beginning. Here on Thermal Vault, we'll continue uncovering these strategies, showing you how the lessons of the past can protect your structures today.